have never inhaled a blunt before. Done weed. I've vaped, eaten, and edibles. It's not bad. It's actually not bad.
Now say chocolate rain.
Yeah.
Chocolate, weed. It's
Are you still able to monetize your notoriety still at this point, or is that in what ways? Do you still get offers based on your fame?
It's weird. Like, I mean, I don't get huge numbers on YouTube anymore, partly because I've just never been a good YouTuber. I've always been upload a couple times a year and, see if people, if it reaches an audience type YouTuber my entire career. I'm on Cameo now, which is a huge platform.
Oh, you do good on there?
Yeah.
Nice.
Which is basically Hallmark cards for for different levels of celebrities. So I think Cameo is a fantastic place to be for a C or D list celebrity, because people who know you for a particular thing, but you're not like Will Smith or
maybe I should
Tom
try it
Hanks.
out again. I did it for a little while.
It's good to just be on it because you never know who is searching for you. It's gotten to be a pretty big platform now. I think they just had like a $300 million valuation in their last round of venture capital.
What's your rate?
And that was like, I have it set at $100 right now.
That's what I would do about that. Because I've seen really famous people for like $1,000 and shit. And I'm like, well, because everybody has their price.
Yeah, you have to be at where it's an impulse purchase.
Yeah.
But it's also, it's really fun. I actually enjoy just when people say, "Hey, I want you to wish my husband a happy birthday," or my coworker just bought a new house or they're getting married or they're having a baby, and I'd like to see your congratulations on that. This sense that I made a big enough dent in the universe. That's something Steve Jobs talked about, is like do something that makes a dent in the universe, and that I made a big enough dent that people just randomly remember 12 years later. Hey. That's the guy who did that video that, when I was in junior high in the computer lab or whatever, when I was in college, we were laughing about that. People have the specific memory of when they first saw Chocolate Rain or when they first experienced Chocolate Rain. And it's a little bit odd. It's like my parents' generation, there's going to be things they always remember, like landing on the moon or JFK. I mean, not to get too dark, but like historical things. And Chocolate Rain ended up being one of those things where it's just like, hey, a lot of people remember where they were, what they were doing.
Shared consciousness of just one thing that everybody sort of remembers that time period. Even, like even the most out of touch people that don't really spend much time on social media or whatever, you remember that, right? And they'd be like, oh, yeah, I do remember that. Yeah. It's so weird to think that there's so much shit like that now.
Yeah. And Cameo is also just fun to search and just see some of the stuff. I'm like, whoa, Tony Little, he's the dude from I think he's on. It's fun. I think in terms of pursuing entertainment, because I've also done singing, acting, voice work. I have a good theatrical agent and I do voice work. And I voiced promos for MLB Network for 9 years, and I've done stuff for Cartoon Network and some other clients. It's great and that came largely from my YouTube. Like, people saw me on YouTube and they're like, hey, what if he voiced this? And then that has fortunately turned in to some great gigs. I think right now there's a lot of downward pressure on both acting and voice work, because you can go to Fiverr and have someone do a voiceover for, a couple bucks.
Really? So that it's much harder to make a buck in the industry
now? It's harder if people are budget conscious.
Really?
And so, the way around that is to, try to have other factors like, hey, I have a social media following, or I'm known, or this or that. Yeah. But a lot of times in voiceover, they're not going for someone who is known because they don't want to upstage the product. Like, they don't, if they're trying to sell shoes.
They don't want you to think about who the voice is. They just want a nice sounding voice.
They just want a nice sounding voice. It's a little bit like sweeping the floor. It's kind of like, okay, we can bring in someone else to do that if you don't want to do it. And that sort of keeps the price down. Like, the days of the celebrity VO are sort of drifting to the past. There was that whole thing with was it Gilbert Gottfried who was the Affleck duck, like the voice of Affleck, and he tweeted something or other that it was. I just remember it was something that could offend Japanese people. It was a joke, and they do a lot of business in Japan, so they're like, oh my gosh, this is a disaster. We've got to replace the Affleck duck. And so I think companies are very reluctant, and so that puts me in a situation where it's like, if I'm pursuing acting gigs or voice acting gigs, is being known on social media an asset or is it a liability? Would it be better to just have my voice and just kind of be Adam off the street who never had any attention on YouTube?
I think about that all the time when I'm looking at actors who are at the point in their career where they're able to like be just a guy who's in commercials for Allstate. And it's like, wow, that's so crazy that your image is that clean, because there's probably, you know, it's just so easy. The littlest things could happen that would be. I always think about Subway. Subway put the fate of their brand in just a random fat guy, and he ended up being a kitty toucher. Like one of the biggest food corporations in the world.
Yeah. That was ugly. That was ugly to see.
Isn't that crazy? That right there, if I was the CEO of Subway, that would be like, no more influencers, like endorsements ever again.
Never
At least not that intertwined with your brand.
Yeah.
Man, they got unlucky with that one.
Or I mean, even in more casual sense, the Verizon "Can you hear me now" guy did an ad for Sprint.
Yeah.
He was in a Sprint commercial being like, "Hey, you can't hear me now. I'm with Sprint." Right. So there is that. Like, there's that real sense of being liability. Also, kind of brands themselves leaning into trying to be salty, cocky voices themselves. If you look at like Wendy's on Twitter or Arby's on Twitter or all of these brands, it's kind of this chick thing to try to seem edgy and post sort of borderline content.
They're all dissing each other on Twitter and shit. No matter how funny it is when I see Taco Bell taking shots at KFC, I'm like, just try to tune my brain out, because I'm like, I know what they're doing to me. I'm not going to sit here and be like, oh, ha at the Burger King tweet. Fuck that, man.
Yeah, they're trying hard. So I mean, I think they're trying to be their own celebrity influencers and build, you know, sort of their own social media and build their own brand voice, sort of as though it were a person.
So you smoke weed now?
Okay. No, okay. So here's the thing. I'm 37. I went 36 years without ever consuming THC until it was legal recreationally. And then I'm like, hey, I mean, I got issues. Everybody got issues. Maybe I'm going to try this. You know, maybe
you were that concerned with the legality?
Whatever. Well,
that was just sort of an entry point?
That was my entry point. Yeah, I was that straight edge. I was that boring in my life that I had to wait until the state was like, yes, recreational is legal.
Right. Wow, that's cool. Good for you. I love a law-abiding citizen.
Well, I mean, as a tangent, I mean, the war on drugs and, of course, weed in particular has devastated a lot of lives, and there's a terrible history behind it.
Very true.
Which it'll be interesting to see where candidates talk about legalizing weed, but like there isn't really a conversation about reparations and how the sense of like if you were alive in the 1990s, this destroyed your life, like to be found with weed, to be incarcerated and whatnot, and so as I'm consuming it now, at the age of 37, I'm kind of like, wow, that was so wrong. Like all of the propaganda that I was indoctrinated with as a child, whether it was DARE or, the portrayal of being high on THC as just kind of being this terrible experience that would be a gateway drug. That has not been true for me, and it's just kind of like, hey, now it's just I just have fun getting high now.
Yeah.
And that's all it is. It's not an addiction. It's not whatever. It's just.
Me too.
I wouldn't even say it's therapeutic for me.
Right.
Because
relaxing.
Yeah, it's just relaxing. It's relaxing and it's fun.
I'm at the point too. I know that I'm real comfortable doing interviews now because I never used to smoke before interviews, and then today I had to come in and do 3 interviews, and that's exactly what I did. Is I faced a fucking spliff in the car on the way here, coming from Starbucks, and I just feel totally like chill, normal. Just I feel like if anything, I'm less nervous. I'm maybe more able to sort of really engage with the conversation and let my brain go down random paths in the conversation. I don't know.
There you go. Yeah. Although I will say I've never actually, because I only vape and I do edibles, so I haven't actually ever like lit up a blunt and inhaled the smoke. Like I've literally never done that in my entire life.
And you want to do that? You want to do that today? When we're done?
Sure.
Ooh,
I'm down. We're
gonna get the footage
this
later. Yeah. We would do it in here, but we were not allowed to smoke in here. And man, they tripped out because Nori was smoking in here the other day. We had to lie and say that it was somebody in his crew did it, and we couldn't stop him. And,
oh my gosh.
Man, that was actually something to really look forward to. Man, those edibles though, those things will fuck you up.
Oh my god, holy! Because like I don't really get a debilitating high from just, vaping.
Right.
But man, you get 3 or 4 edibles, like 30, 40 grams. I'm like, oh my gosh, like I can't move.
Yeah.
This is if there's a too high, this is too high.
I haven't done a lot of the legal ones, but like back in the day, you would buy like a candy bar for like $20 at the dispensary, and it would have like 1,000 milligrams, and that shit would have you on your ass.
Wow.
Like not just like, oh, I'm high, but no, it's like I feel like I'm on a psychedelic. Like I feel like I can't move. I feel like I'm never going to be able to get out of this chair.
Yeah. Did I say 30, 40? I meant milligrams. Like 30, 40 grams would like kill you.
People can correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure that like back in the day, it was like way easier to just get way higher dosage edibles because it was just sort of the wild, wild west, and the shit wasn't regulated as much.
Yeah, now it's, especially in California, it's pretty, regulated.
If you want to get completely fucked off eating a huge amount of edibles, fine, but you should probably have to like eat a reasonable amount.
Yeah, it's hard to predict too, because like I don't know when it hits me. Like I think I'll be fine, and then like 3 hours later, I'm like I am not fine. I need to go lay down.
Yeah, it's so crazy to think about the fact that you are such like a thoughtful, smart, fucking well-mannered guy. And even that song is actually very interesting social criticism, but that it went viral in such a way that really none of that seemed to matter at all.
Yeah, I would say about 20% of people, when it went viral, kind of sensed that it was a deeper message or had a deeper meaning to it.
I think that it's more now because when you Google it, it's very easy to land on articles that sort of inform you that that's about. Because I was going to just straight up ask you, was that racial in any way? Then I go online and read, and I'm like, oh, he's already spoken on this a whole bunch of times. Yeah,
did a BET interview.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, and the thing is, it's. I always say that I sing about what I can't say about. Like that's a little bit of my frustration as a musician is I make better music when I am in a state of mind that is totally antisocial and just so awkward that I can barely put a sentence together in an interaction like this. That it's almost kind of like being in LA, because in LA you're always on a little bit. Like there's always this sense that, especially now in this era where everyone has a social media and a camera in their pocket, that like you can never really just like be off the grid and be in a city or be around people. And so when I'm making music, the best music comes from a place where it's like it's almost like I'm flustered and I'm stuttering and I can't even speak and I can't even really I can't put the words out, but I can sing it and I can express it in music, and it can have meaning and purpose there. And finding ways to get to that place, it's tough. It's tough now in the hustle bustle of LA and social media being what it is now, where it's like you're supposed to make 10, 15 pieces of content every day just to stay current on platforms.
It's insane that they convinced us all to update our Instagram stories this much.
Oh my God! I mean, we're like hamster wheels. We're like hamsters on just like running on that wheel. And
because we all know that if you update your Instagram story once, twice, 3 times a day, that you're only going to get so many views. If you update it 10 plus times a day, you're going to get many more views.
Yeah.
And I mean, that's enough to keep almost everybody on the fucking hamster wheel. Like even if you were like everybody sort of knows that even if you were to get to the point where you were super busy and rich, that you would just be hiring someone to do that for you.
That's what George Takei does. I mean, bless his heart. I love George Takei, a big fan. But I always see his Facebook posts. I'm like, did you really? You're like 80 years old. Did you really sit and type all this out?
And I mean, when you're him and you've got that big audience, it's like, well, why wouldn't you? It's like there's this many people relying on what you're going to throw out there on social media, shit. And it's like something like him. It's like, it's supporting you financially, but it's also you're really making a difference.
Yeah.